Hello. La la la. Welcome into the wrestling mat. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you today? I'm Matt Camp. Boom. Right there. This is the wrestling mat. That's the WrestlingMatShow.com. Graphic over Todd Pettengill. And you can head there to learn more about the program, how you can become a member, get this show before everybody else does. You can learn more about the show and the shorts and the videos and everything we've put up there. What's up? Rob, good to see you. I'm fine, dog. How are you? There should be one slab of stone of the Mount Rushmore, and it's just me. And if you know Mike Francesa is that joke, and comment was for you. Rob got it. That's good enough for me. This is an AMA episode today. Now, if you're watching live, absolutely feel free to get your questions in. I felt like, obviously, with some new responsibilities on my plate, the schedule's been a little messed up. I would like to hone in on that potentially when we get to the new year. Maybe that means I'm not on every day, but I'd rather be consistent with a schedule than popping up all over the place. Can't handle that yet. That's going to be in the new year. We'll get to that, I promise. But if you want to get your questions in watching live, feel free to do so. If you missed this, say, I wanted to get questions in, throw them in the comments. I will get to them on a future show. But I wanted to give you guys the time today to get the questions in. The members getting it first. You can always listen to this show wherever you get your podcast. Rate, review, subscribe, thanks to the Believe Network. And, of course, you can watch this show when it airs for everybody else who's not a member at 5 p.m. Eastern. We like to do most interesting wrestlers of the week or things of the week. That's our new kind of Friday concept. I will be continuing that. That is a very easy thing for me to talk about because it's positive. You can't piss people off typically when you're positive. That's a lie. You could totally do that too, especially in wrestling. But the AMA today, feel free to get your questions in on anything. Now, I'm going to hit one comment from yesterday's video, and then I'm going to hit one very long comment because it is well-deserved that I answer that second comment. But the first one comes from Carl. He says, some of the best cross promotions. We talked about that a lot yesterday. A little background here if you didn't watch yesterday's episode. I talked about the idea of how cross promoting has become so important in business, in marketing, across sports, across food brands, you name it. And it's been something that's going on for a very long period of time. I think we see some weirder ones now. My wife just got a all-in-one. I didn't bring this one up yesterday. I should have. She got an all-in-one, like, blow dryer, hair curler. It works fantastically. She looks beautiful. She got one of those things, and it's Wicked. And I know Wicked's everywhere now. Cross promotion. There's Seinfeld's right here. Lego Seinfeld. Pop Kramer in the underwear. His buttocks are sublime. What else do we have? Anything else? Nothing, I guess. I'm sure there's other things here. But someone mentioned some of the best cross promotions are in the shoes behind you. Duh. Cross promotions in the shoes behind me. For instance, and if you've seen me wear clothes on this show before, they're often connected to this group. Run the Jewels SB Dunks. Run the Jewels Mid Dunks. Fuzzy. Right? Run the Jewels. Tremendous hip-hop group. Speaking of, Travis Scott, Air Maxes, Cactus Jacks. And there are more behind me, I'm sure. And I brought that up because of the cross promotion and finding fan bases that are in that Venn diagram, or turning someone from this fan base into a fan of this fan base when they do something together. And I talked about how, Big Boom AJ and Big Justice were at All In ticket event the other day. Obviously, we've seen what Logan Paul's been able to do. You look at what Johnny Knoxville did. Shaq wrestling in Jade Cargill's first match. Street Fighter's done stuff with AEW, whatever it might be. Somebody brought up, so this is the comment, more of the comment, I should say. Some of the best cross promotions are in the shoes behind you as far as wrestling. I think Slim Jim was. Also, good luck in whatever you make the channel. Thank you, Carl. Slim Jim to me actually does kind of make sense. Yes, they're a sponsor, but they got so involved. They got involved to the point that there was a battle royal. They got involved to the point that Macho Man became so synonymous with them that Slim Jim followed Macho Man to WCW. These cross promotions are very useful and great if done right. Sometimes they're just ridiculous. I watch what's her name on TikTok with my wife, Christine Kirkman. She does those PR hauls. Have you ever seen her? Then she gets some of the most wild collaborations. Was it Dove or some skincare, or Tums sent her bags and things like that. And of course, Tums were in there too, but there was random Tums fashion items. But you know what? She's got a ton of followers, and she posted about it and talked about it. And you know what? That works. So that cross-promotion stuff, I'm sure I'll think of more. Here's another one. The Mets bring in Grimace to throw out the first pitch. Right? Not supposed to be anything more than that. Throws out the first pitch. And the Mets happen to go on a nice little run after that. And then Grimace becomes part of the superstition of baseball, which I always enjoy. Never take it seriously, but always enjoy. And instead of steering away from that, McDonald's steers into it. And Grimace becomes a thing, and then he pops up in the playoffs and all that. And guess what? It was harmless and fun. A lot of people got joy out of it, and it was a bonus. Rob just brought up Cross Promotion 1.0, the WrestleMania 1 main event. Mr. T, Muhammad Ali, Billy Martin, Liberace, accompanied by the Rockettes. So many more. Cross promotion is a great thing. And when I see people complain about it, if you complain without any justification, you're just being a pain in the ass. If it's what happened on a lot of those Raws with the guest hosts, and they clearly weren't into it or didn't put the effort. And I'm not saying everybody that's got to come on there has to be a fan. But it connects when you give a shit. It goes if you're actually trying to get something out of showing up on a wrestling show, the best way for that to work is you buy in. Some people don't need to be told that. Other people, you can see it, they do. I'm not surprised really at all that social media people have been able to kind of, especially those who are entertaining and, are trying to entertain you and have fun doing so. I'm not surprised that those people have worked when they've shown up for wrestling stuff. Big Boom AJ, Big Justice, obviously Logan Paul in a very different way. But you should lean into that. The Rizzler, the amount of people that's going to attract who you realize they only know about this kid from TikTok. They don't know about what wrestling is. And now maybe they do. And all you're trying to do is get them to latch on to something else on the show. Doesn't have to be the whole show. All you want them to do is come back. I watched because I'm a fan of this person who's not in wrestling. But you know what I saw? I saw Darby Allin. I saw Jey Uso. Whatever it might be. I saw Mercedes Moné. I saw Chris Statlander. I saw Rhea Ripley. I saw Bianca. anything like that. That's what you're hoping for. Making new fans. AEW did GalaxyCon over the weekend. Darby Allin goes up against Commander. Great match. An extremely friendly match to show or to have in front of a GalaxyCon crowd. Yes, clearly a lot of AEW and wrestling fans in the building. But you have Darby, who looks like he does. Very unique. Very standout in his way. And Commander, hey, a lucha gear is always going to look standout in wrestling, especially when you're only one in the ring. Yeah, it's a little different when everyone's a luchador and you're in Mexico or something like that. But if you're in Ohio on a Saturday, a luchador is going to stand out more. So you put that match in front of a GalaxyCon crowd, and to me, that's like a, hey, watch this. Tell me if you don't like wrestling after this. And those guys went out and had a really good match, a really fun match, and a match that I think would attract people to watching more of it. And they got great highlights. You know, I even called one out on Inside the Continental Classic where, as much as Commander handles the ropes and all that stuff and has unbelievable athleticism and be able to control himself, Darby's going to launch his body like a weapon all over the place and throws it with so much force. And he did so and absolutely obliterated a chair, which I loved because, sure, he hurt himself, and it's a great example of who Darby is. But the visual looked just so like, damn, that was awesome. Like, that would capture your eye if you knew nothing about wrestling. I have a TikTok idea for that, but I'm going to keep that to myself because I might be able to put it together. But right there, if people maybe saw those two guys who were unique and stand out in their own way, maybe it made more fans. Rob's giving us a couple more examples here. Second highest buyer ever, WrestleMania 23 at Ford Field. Of course. Billionaire versus billionaire. I mean, that, like it or not, that crushed. I mean, that's the year that Cena went up against Shawn Michaels because Triple H got hurt. There's nothing special about that card, but it had massive appeal. Call it being in the industry or whatever. I am a big fan of whatever brings more eyeballs. People used to complain about Goldberg. Sorry, I'm having a warhead. I remember he beat Bray Wyatt in 2020, right before Mania, and became Universal Champion. And people didn't like that call. Hey, present company included. However, at the time, and I'm sure it's been passed and whatever, but in the time, February, I believe, 2020, that post of Brock of Goldberg holding that blue Universal title was the most liked post, like in WWE history. Million something, like unreal number. And I started to look at, and that's 4 or 5 months into my run there, I started to look at that stuff differently. I started to look at decisions differently. Also understanding, which is something way, way, way more people on social media need to do sometimes. It might not be for you. On any company, something might be presented and it just may not be for you. And if you see that it's doing well, YouTube numbers, social media engagement, whatever it might be, a tick up in the quarter hour, the minute by minute, if you're going to go into ratings conversation, if it's trending in the right direction, sometimes you just have to chalk it up to, hey, This one's not for me. But it's for a lot of people, and that's okay. There's a lot of content to throw out into the wrestling world to fill up on a weekly basis. It's hard to like all of it, and it's hard to write or put together shows that are absolutely going to click with everybody. You know, I always go back to the example of, you know, the Attitude Era. People wanting that to come back and blah, 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 blah. A lot of it's crap. But a lot of it gets overshadowed because Stone Cold Steve Austin, for his time and pound for pound, he's the biggest star ever. In his peak, he was the biggest star ever. There's a lot of crap on the same show he's on, and that's fine. It is a hard thing to put out something that's going to appease everybody at a high level for multiple hours every single week. It's just not possible. You should root for it to be possible. It's not possible. So I just think that's something you have to think about. And, you know, I think I've said that with the Judgment Day stuff. But massive numbers. They're going to keep it rolling. Of course they are. And I see people on Twitter who are probably wrestling like-minded like me. And I'm also aware that stuff I like might not be for the masses. And that's fine. Wrestling is a business. I'll point back and tell you that Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville is one of the 10 WrestleMania matches you should watch. I would say that. I would tell you that. I would tell you that is an example of pro wrestling. And a great one at that. Watch that entire feud. If somebody put that together, we'll do that in the future and in the new year. Breaking down certain feuds. If you watch everything that Sami and Knoxville did, it was all at least good. But you could tell they were both very in on it. You could tell Knoxville wasn't just making an appearance. It was genuine. It worked. He enjoyed it so much, he wanted to do more. I remember that conversation. I talked to someone who is no longer there in talent relations, saying, man, Knoxville's great. He wants to do more. That was at the Rumble that year. You remember he was in. It did turn into more. Turned into a lot more. I don't remember if Mania was supposed to be on the table or if it was just supposed to be a one-off for the Rumble. And if I remember correctly, it was just supposed to be a one-off for the Rumble. But look what it turned into. You cross, you look around, you try to find new audiences where you can. All right, somebody just sent me a message. Got it. Okay. Now, I got a couple of questions and comments here, so I want to make sure I get to these. Nerdy dude, you're going to get a lot more of your questions answered. Why are you wearing a cap having a bad hair day? No, I took a night shower. And I found my Golden Knights app. So I wanted to wear it. That's what I got for you. I'm getting a haircut on Tuesday. Here's more hair news. Rob said wrestling is like equals SNL. Not every sketch is going to be in your wheelhouse, but if you're playing young, old, male, female, though, 4 bases a big tent, people only remember the best and forget the worst. They forget bad SNL sketches, but remember Farley going bananas. And I would say in wrestling, you remember the best, and you also remember the worst. And sometimes, because it's wrestling, the worst can be looked back upon fondly. Would anybody have remembered the Shockmaster if that first entrance went well and the gimmick, whatever the hell it was supposed to be, followed through in the creative plans and they executed Fred Ottman exactly what the creative vision was? No. And also sometimes there's stuff that might have worked, and because it fell flat, it went awful and it's not remembered. And that happens too. Titus World Slide is One of the great happy accidents in wrestling. If it went a few inches the other way, it would have been the worst. Things like that just happen to connect. Things like that hit bigger than you'd expect. Jericho and MJF doing a musical. Like, put that on paper and go, tell a wrestling fan. So they're going to do a musical, and then it hits. It hits huge. It gets vision outside of like that stuff. You have to have the mix. The mix goes a long way. Dennis says, what are the remaining C2 matches you're looking forward to the most? Ospreay, Darby, this Wednesday, Holiday Bash. Super excited for that. Especially now that it's later on in the C2. Okada and Beast Mortos. As I talked about inside the Continental Classic, that match is an example of what great, not necessarily just tournament wrestling, but round-robin tournament wrestling can give you. Because it's a long, grueling tournament, because you face 5 people, because you may have to face 7 different, or have 7 different matches to become the Continental Champion. Maybe in a regular bracket, you see a matchup between 2 people that are faced before and one person's more accomplished. Maybe you go, well, it's obvious who's going to win. But then in a match like this, where it's 3-4 matches into a tournament and upsets happen, and Daniel Garcia gets a draw with Okada in the first round, you go, hold on a second. Okada probably would have been marked down for 3 there, and instead he lost. Bad for him, as I noted, if Okada comes away with a draw at any point in a round robin or doesn't win his first match. He's never won a round robin tournament. And I am, of course, referring to the G1. He's also a 4-time winner of the G1. But history tells us that Beast Mortos has not won yet. Perhaps he really upends the tournament and beats Okada in a tournament where you have to wrestle 5 times before you can move on. That adds intrigue. So I am very excited for that match. I'm very excited for Darby. And here, let me see what's left, just so I don't forget anything. And I know AW taping Collision tonight, so that's something to consider as well. Hold on. I've been tracking these things, as you may have expected. All right, so what do we got left, if I remember correctly here? I know we got a couple announced. Here we go. So we still have Briscoe Fletcher, which is going to be on Collision. We still have Danny Garcia against Benjamin, Beast Mortos against Kelvin Benjamin, and Okada against Kelvin Benjamin. He's not on the Panthers. It's Shelton Benjamin. Jesus. That was funny. What else we got? Yeah, I mean, Okada's got Mortos this weekend, and he's still got Benjamin. Then in the Gold League, obviously Darby and Ospreay, Darby and Ricochet. Awesome. We're going to get Darby and Claudio again. And I know I'm reading off these matches, but a lot of them are just this gold bracket is they're both stacked. There's nothing bad about this, and I'm not just saying that. Claudio and Commander. Claudio against the Luchador is always fun. Let's see. Brody and Ospreay. Man, Brody King, how great. Brody King and Ricochet last night. I didn't know I said I'd be kind of, talking about things differently. This is very easy. Brody King against Ricochet, and Brody King basically just big manning his way away from Ricochet going to the air. When Ricochet does the springboard, it's on the, the far right. If you're looking at the screen, who's in this area, I guess you would say, whatever. This, the right side of the ring. And Ricochet goes up to springboard, and Brody just double hand chops him. I can't tell you how satisfying that was to watch. I love that's Clash of Styles to me. That is, oh God, that was so fun. Good win for Ricochet. Really, Will Ospreay and Claudio was as good as you would expect it to be, but Brody King and Ricochet was such a perfect mix of styles. Bias or not, I am so on that Brody King bandwagon. Oh, by the way, also, Ricochet and Ospreay have yet to have their match. So that's also happening. There is very little letting up in the rest of the C2. Let me tell you that, which, good God almighty, makes it so fun to talk about. So, yes, enjoy. Rob, who are historical peers to Okada in terms of style and ring acumen? So, the lazy comparison for a while, and I don't necessarily agree with this, Tanahashi is Cena, Okada is Randy Orton. Now, I think that's more about how they were placed in their respective companies and how they were booked and presented as such. Tanahashi being more of the lifetime babyface, Okada leaning more heel typically in New Japan, although obviously there was a babyface run, much like Cena and Orton, where Cena, lifetime babyface, Orton, known as a heel, can be babyface just by respect level. Okada's someone who will... you could definitely make the argument in the last 15 to 20 years that Okada wrestles the big match or big singles match better than anybody. That good. With that comes longer matches and pacing. And it's been different to see Okada in exclusively basically in America wrestle because the timing is different. If he's going to have a TV match, it's probably going to be a little shorter. I mean, here, what's he's wrestled so far? And I don't think anybody needs to go 35, 40, 45 an hour. And that's an unbelievable. Those can be boring. Watch WrestleMania 12. He beat Briscoe in 13-26. They had a very spirited match with a lot of fun things in it. He lost to Kyle Fletcher in 17 minutes. I think that match did a lot for Kyle Fletcher, and he went to a 20-minute draw with Daniel Garcia. Now, the C2 is only 20 minutes, but you can get a lot done in 20 minutes. I believe the last, if I'm not mistaken, the last Okada-Kenny match, which I believe happened in the G1, was one of their shorter matches, and it's still great. Long to be long? No. Long to build a story and tell something along the way? Sure. Okada always wrestled to me, especially, obviously, I should say, but when he was champion, it reminded me of the old adage that you had to beat the champion to win the championship in boxing. And by that meaning, if you're going to win on points, you got to take that. You got to clearly, the champion has an advantage there. I don't know if it's still that way. And I think there's a thought that UFC's kind of like that as well as, does the champion kind of get the benefit of the doubt? Perhaps. Okada always wrestled that way. You're going to have to take this from me. I'm not going to make mistakes. I'm as smooth as butter in here. So I'm not going to slip up. And I will take advantage every time you do. Very methodical in that way. Very in control of himself. Still had some, there is some Shawn to him. Not the same kind of wrestler, but just in terms of, he takes you on a ride. Who else would I throw? And I'm trying to throw out more, well-known comparisons. I think there's some flair in Okada. But because of how big he is, and he is a big guy, I always look at it as somebody who's, because he's so good, he's in control. But he's good at being in control. He is firmly in control. There's no doubt who's winning a match when he's the one ahead, if that makes sense. He built himself up to beat, and that's how he was handled in New Japan in the best way possible. And I like about what I've liked always about Okada is if you piss him off, he can go somewhere he doesn't go often. It's hard to throw him off his game. I think Daddy Magic talked about that on commentary. I think maybe probably Nigel mentioned. I can't remember. It might have been over the weekend, but you just can't take him off his game, and that's what he's always exuded. Excuse me. All right. All right. So, Nerdy Dude, it is your lucky day because I saw your comment last night. And it's a comment with many, many questions. And honestly, I would have to say is you kind of pushed the idea of doing this AMA today. So with that being said, Nerdy Dude, you have asked 25 questions. I'm going to try to get to all of them. However, before I start, you've asked another one. We're going to get to that. Question about gimmick matches and their pacing. Which one was your favorite Iron Survivor at Survivors over the week? I feel like I lean the women. That gimmick is so good. I talked about this last week. Having Iron Survivor and the Casino Gauntlet be new, fresh, good matches is such a breath of fresh air when you are seeing the struggles of running out of ideas for the Money in the Bank and, even War Games. Well, they come out or dive right onto the ring. So formulaic. Iron Survivor allows for different levels of drama, comebacks, do you want to be in early? Do you want to be in late? All that. It's a fun match, and it's not that long. The Casino Gauntlet. Who's going to come out win? That one in Wembley? Oh, my God. So loaded up. So fun. Who's going to win? We don't know. Oh, wow. This random showdown happened. You know what happened with Roddy? He doesn't get in. Those are good. It's good to have some fresh stuff. And I'm sure going to answer this one. All right. So Nerdy Dude wrote 25 questions. 25 questions. I'm going to do my best. I don't think I'm going to answer them all in full, but I will get to as many as I can. Here we go. And please feel free to keep asking questions in the chat. I will get to those as well as I start this. 35 minutes in. Holy hell. Which 10 match for NXT should everybody watch? Okay. So I'll name as many as I can think of. Sammy and Cesaro. Paige and Emma. The women's four-way. With Sasha, the four horsewomen four-way. Becky and Sasha. They're all arrivals or takeovers and all that stuff. Let's see. Watch the entire takeover from Philly. I was at that show. Let's see. Oh boy. I feel like there's a good no, that's not. FTR Revival against American Alpha. Tremendous. The stuff with Revival, FTR, and Gargano and Ciampa's excellent. I know I'm going to miss stuff in here. That's what's going to bug me. Sasha Bailey, that's obvious, I think, right? Asuka beating Bailey to win the title is fun for the crowd reaction. Sammy and Nakamura in Dallas. Oh my goodness. I'm thinking. I'm gonna miss some. I know I am. I'm sorry. Keith Lee, Dijak in Portland, but I also like Keith Lee, Dijak, and Roddy triple threat for the North American title. You know what? I feel like I got asked about NXT recently on here, and I thought of a match And I'm now reminded of it because of what happened after. Angel, I don't even know what he was called at the time. Angel and Humberto. But Angel was in NXT and like kind of came out of nowhere. And he had a match with Lio Rush. It was an early NXT on USA, if I remember correctly. It is so damn good. Like it's a lost classic, and I'm sure it'll end up on like the vault now or something. It is so good, and I believe, if I remember correctly, Angel gets engaged to his now wife in commercial break, and they show it, and then he gets brought to Raw like a week later, and Vince has him kissing people, walking in the ring, and it's like, dude, on your television, you just like they showed this guy getting engaged, and like he randomly got brought up to Raw. It was in I remember this. It was in late 2019 in Brooklyn. Yeah, it was like near the holidays. It was probably right around this time. And I remember like that. He's like, I'm just doing whatever I'm supposed to do. And I was like, okay, man, I get it. But him and Lio Rush, it's an NXT TV. It's so good. I'm sure I'll think of more. I want to keep moving. Would you have booked Asuka versus Charlotte at WrestleMania where Asuka's undefeated streak was broken differently? Yes, Asuka shouldn't have lost. I hated that. In the big picture, it didn't really hurt her. Charlotte didn't need to beat her. Which tag team in NXT was your favorite from the Black and Gold era? Revival, FTR, yes. American, I just landed that era so much. Kyle and I mean, like, Undisputed. There's a lot of good in that. Also, I thought MSK had a hell of a run. I think they, and I guess they're kind of, are they crossover? I guess they're kind of crossover. Also, Enzo and Cass were excellent at their peak. The ways to start a show. And if you haven't seen Big Bill lately, congrats to him and Lexi on their the nuptials, on their wedding. Very happy for them. Big Bill on commentary as of late has been hilarious. Make a point to go see that. Do you think the Judgment Day has overstayed its welcome? I will say I talked to somebody about this the other day, and they just brought it up on their own. I don't know. I can't say that because they're drawing. I don't think it's nearly the same dynamic without Rhea and Damian. That's also pretty obvious. Which TNA gimmick match was your favorite? Ooh, I like King of the Mountain. King of the Mountain's a good match. The reverse battle royal is garbage. King of the Mountain I enjoy. Ultimate X. I think that's just a cool. It's a perfect way to do that match, and everybody's on the same level. Even though it's like a cruiserweight X division. Like, you got to figure out how to go get it. It obviously leads to a lot of amazing things that can happen. Yeah, those are both up there. Let's keep going. What Samoa Joe match is your favorite? Well, the triple threat. I can rip down a bunch of those Ring of Honor matches, no problem. Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire. Take 10 minutes, watch that match. Wonder what could have been. You know that Samoa Joe's still a badass. You know he was a badass long after that match. Watch that match and wonder what could have been. If you remember, around that time, I think leading into SummerSlam, he stayed in the title picture. He took care of Roman on the mic more than a few times. Just saying, Samoa Joe has quite often made the most of what he's been presented. And he should never be written off. And that has been apparent. Any other Samoa Joe match that would be my favorite? Him and Kurt when he beat him for the title. That was excellent. What 10 WWE themes are your favorites? All right, let's try to. I'll try to do this. I like $1 Million Man, Shane's, Shinsuke, Stone Cold. Perfect. The Allied Powers. Look that one up. Lex and Bulldog, WrestleMania 11. Rob Conway. Just look at me. Ain't I sad to see? Just look at me. Billy Gunn. I like to kick him. I like to stick him. I like to stomp him. I like to kick him. Well, you know. I feel like I'm probably missing some big ones in here. Right? Oh, I like Owens. And I like the old Royal Rumble theme. I'm sure I missed some. That's what you're getting from me at 2:40 on a Thursday afternoon. Those are my answers. Who do you think? Oh, let's see. Hulk Hogan on Legion of Doom. Hogan was the biggest star of his time and a scumbag of a human being. We know that. Legion of Doom. I think Legion of Doom got to WWF at the perfect time for them. I think the way that they were booked and how they were presented and, you know, the pop and what they were, and it's where they should have been. All that stuff in the late 90s stunk. Oof. Awful. Bad. No. Legion of Doom were great, though. You wonder, they're one of those that like fit so well where they fit and then didn't fit well anywhere else. Yeah, they might be generational that way. Number 9, which women's match in WWE is your favorite? Oh boy, it's probably Bayley Sasha. I think it pretty much has to be. I was there. I went to that show as a fan. I felt every bit of that match. I get why it affected so many people. I felt it. I was emotional watching it. Like that was. I think it has to be that. I really do. I'm sure I could think of others, but if that's, but Becky Sasha is excellent. I mean, I got to throw that in the conversation. Becky Sasha in the cell is excellent. I loved how hard hitting Rhea and Charlotte turned out to be at WrestleMania last year. Why do you think the new generation 90s struggled so much in the ratings? I think they tried to figure out what was next after Hogan. And I would understand the idea that someone at the top of the company with that much charisma and that much ability, and by ability, I mean knowing how to be a top guy and what that entails, not necessarily moves, but knowing where to put things. That was Hogan. And they, Macho got his year. All right. Well, they turned him heel. Okay. Well, is it Warrior? Well, he's not reliable enough. Let's go back to Hulk. Here's Sid. All right, let's see. All right. Well, here comes Brett. Here comes Shawn. Here comes Diesel. And they ended up being the guys after WrestleMania 9. They really were the guys. And I think it was just a shift in the industry. I think they got caught. I think it's very fair to say that when you look at those, and believe me, I'm 7, 8, 9, 10 years old during this time. When you look at that transition, because we didn't go right from Hulk Hogan to Stone Cold. There's a lot going on. There's Brett, and there's Shawn, there's Diesel, and there's Razor, and there's Jeff Jarrett, and there's Owen and Bulldog and Pillman, and they got to get to that because there's a lot of crap in there. There's a lot of hog farmers and Duke the Dumpster Droese. And look, I don't blame those people. But at the same time, now here comes Nitro. Oh, there's Lex Luger. Oh, they're in a mall. That looks different. Oh, they have Hogan. Oh, they have Savage. Well, they also have Sting. Well, they also have Luger. Well, they have the Four Horsemen. They got some big stars over there. And then a year later, Hall and Nash walk out. And they go somewhere. And it wasn't edgy to be edgy, which is, I always come back to that. They weren't cursing and doing sexual stuff. It wasn't, it was just heavier, less cartoony characters and stories. Hey, these guys were at the other place. Now they're here. They're a danger. And then everyone sells them like a danger. And then you put the biggest baby face of all time with them. And you go. And meanwhile, WWF's trying to, they don't want Shawn to be their pretty boy champ anymore, or they don't want it to be perceived that way. They want it to be over more people. So let's get him in there with Mick, and let's give him more of an edge, and he's going to act that way. Oh, shit, it's not working out. He's going to lose to Sting at Madison Square Garden. All right, we'll build some sympathy up for him, and then he'll win it, Royal Rumble in 97, and now we're starting to get it a little bit more. So I think it was a transitional time away from something that they didn't have anymore, and they had to go in a different direction. I will tell you that happened for the first 3 years it was very clear, okay, there's a lot to do here. And then when Vince went bye-bye, look what happened. Do you think if given more care, 205 Live would still be around? I think that stuff's better when it's just part of the show. I didn't like I don't need to be told this is happening now. It's different. No, just do it. Hey, here comes Super Callow and Psychosis. I don't need to be told. We're changing the colors of the ring ropes. And they get their own title and blah, blah. Yeah, you have this cruiserweight title. I get that. I'm not saying like that. But it was such it's its own show. And it's you know how much content you put out? Speed should be 205 Live. I don't know what the hell Speed's become. Speed should be 205 Live-ish, which it started that way. Which version of the NXT women's division is better, black and gold or today? Black and gold, but today's deeper in terms of potential. Who's your childhood hero when it comes to wrestling? Oh, God. I don't think hero's a strong word. I don't think I had a childhood hero. We did that episode of my favorites growing up. I was a Warrior guy, not a Hogan guy. No chance in hell I would call that guy a hero. I don't think I looked at athletes or people like that in that way. Your thoughts on James Ellsworth becoming the first ever women's Money in the Bank winner? I understood it for the heat, but you can't. I think people overblow the fact that he helped her win, but there was such a strong women thing, because that was the company line at the time, because God forbid it just happened organically. We have to hit people over the head with it. You can't push women, and then that guy wins. It's a weird message to send. Which gimmick match is your favorite? Oh, Royal Rumble. It's got to be. Yeah. Dennis, back to you. Favorite comedy wrestler of all time? R-Truth. R-Truth. Chelsea Green's making a strong run at it. The funniest person in the history of pro wrestling is in my hand. So maybe I should be answering it that way. This is the funniest guy in the history of pro wrestling. So much so, and I think I've said this before, I'll say it again. When I interviewed Ken Jeong years ago, I didn't realize how big of a wrestling fan he was. This is well after he did, whatever he was promoting with Jeremy Piven and Summerfest and getting thrown. Like, he is a legitimate fan. And we were taping an interview with him, and he was West Coast, so I'm in the studio, at the Bump studio, and he was like asking about it. He saw something behind me, and I went and he's like, "Oh, that's Undertaker's robe." It's like, and I had part of the mic flag from MSG and he knew what that was right away. And he goes, "Let me tell you something. Bobby the Brain Heenan is not just one of the best comedically timed performers in wrestling, but anywhere." He said if he went into comedy full time, he would have been massive. And I agree with that completely. Many, including people certainly on TV to this day, tried to do Bobby Heenan stuff. Nobody can. What's your 10 favorite New Japan matches? Oh, geez. All right, I'll try to. I can't remember all these. Ishii Okada happens in the G1. I don't remember the year. That might be number one. Okada and Kenny, take your pick. I love the first one. The draw is also excellent. Kushida Kenny he wins the junior title from Kushida. And I'm a huge Kushida guy. He's up there in the corner. That's on Wrestle Kingdom. Ibushi Nakamura. Definitely in the conversation. I know I'm missing some Hiromu matches in there too. Suzuki and Okada in the rain. The draw in the rain. God, there's more Ishii matches. Ishii and Kenny. Naito and Kenny. Yeah. And I'm sure there's more, and I'm not going back far enough. Because admittedly, I've watched stuff after the fact. Thoughts on the Crybaby match. What was the Crybaby match? Oh, Crybaby match. This Crybaby match with part of this angle, I guess. Well, not part of this angle. Not part of it. That's when Pac turned heel. Is that what you're talking about, Nerdy Dude? Let me know. I'll come back to that one. Do you think a title change could happen at Saturday night's main event on Saturday, December 14th? Yes. Number 19. How are you? I'm all right. I literally came down here to do the show more off. How would I say this? I was very much looking forward to today's show because of the ability to just talk about random stuff. So cool. I'm all right. Worst gimmick of all time, in your opinion? Beaver cleavage. Have you embraced the Christmas spirit yet? You know what? We put up our tree on Halloween, and it has lights on it already. But we had our Halloween spider lights in our living room. So I said, well, here's the deal. If we're putting up the tree tonight, because it is early, we got to put the spider lights on so it's Nightmare Before Christmas. We had our tree decorated within 2 days after that. There are lights out in front of my house that I put up, and I have the small tree. It's tall, but it's very, not that tall. It's like medium size, but it's completely barren. So there's a bunch of giant Christmas ornaments on it, and there's stars on it, but they're battery powered. And because I decorated so early, those batteries are already out. But then I have icicles I have to put up. However, I do have Christmas lights that have been sitting here the whole time, and I meant to put them up. Maybe by tomorrow's episode. We will see. Have you bought all your Christmas presents already? Yes. What was the last movie you've watched? A no-watch movie with your daughter doesn't count. Sorry, but nice try. Okay, so Moana 2 doesn't count because we saw that the day after Thanksgiving. What was the last movie I watched? I don't know if I can give you that answer. I movie? Major League? Because I think I put it on in the background. Your favorite song right now? Ooh, all right, let's look. My favorite song right now. Does it have to be like a new song? We've introduced my daughter to a lot of Weird Al in the last week. Also, I've been singing the Walk Hard soundtrack, the Dewey Cox story. Yes, I'm an Apple Music guy. Deal with it. I don't know if I have like a favorite right now new song. I don't know if I can have like a current like favorite song. My favorite song in the last year was Northern Attitude by Noah Khan, and I know that goes back beyond a year. All right, couple more. Oh, you were talking about the Cryberry match. You know what that was? That was Vince booking where you can tell they needed more of an edge. That's what I was thinking of. Matt, do you know why Samoa Joe got abducted by ninjas? Just asking if there was a reason for it. One day we'll come and figure out that answer. Your favorite food during the Christmas season? And that's the last question, by the way. I did all of them. My favorite food during the Christmas season? I did mashed potatoes. I always eat mashed potatoes. I made far too many mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving. So then I got to bring home the leftovers. Does apple cider count? I feel like now that I've been in Connecticut for a while, like I always have to drink it because it's delicious. Also, I found Shirley Temple 7-Up. Unbelievable. How many matches does Rock wrestle in 2025? If the over-under was 1.5, I would take the under. I think he does one. There you go. I think I hit all your questions. Thank you. Thanks to Nerdy Dude. I wanted to make sure, as our most giving and loyal member of the Wrestling Mat, I wanted to make sure all those got answered. I think I got them all, some in more detail than others. If you have other questions as you watch this, leave them in the comments later. Would love to answer them down the road. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to the WrestlingMatchShow.com. You can do that for free. Become a member. You get always the show before everybody else. Tomorrow, it's Friday. Most interesting wrestlers of the week. What caught your eye? Who's catching your eye? In a not quiet month of December in the world of professional wrestling. Go to ProWrestlingTees.com/TheWrestlingMat. Get your Wrestling Mat merch. Those shirts are available. Would make a lovely holiday gift. Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year's, whatever you're celebrating, just for fun, just to wear. Love to have some more people in the Wrestling Mat shirts. I'll be back tomorrow to talk about wrestling even more right here on the Wrestling Mat.